This is a video of us moving the chickens, the meat birds. On the leading edge is the dolly, on the trailing edge is a furniture mover. And right now the chicks are still small enough to be able to scoot out of the little bit of space that's created with the dolly and the furniture mover. So we get to catch all the birds that escape after we move the pen. We've already removed all of the feeders and all of the wood that fills the holes and the gaps before we move it. And then it's just a game of catch. It's definitely easier to have a partner to help corral them. Some are easier than others. They haven't realized that they can get caught. Others that you'll see later know they can get caught and they like to run away from us. You can see where I am right there is where they were last night and yesterday. You can see the squares that they've been on before, and shows you how much grass they eat and then how much their excrement overloads the ground. Using the boards helps a lot. Your partner can hold the boards and then I will pick them back up and put them in their pen. The dogs would love to help us corral them, but we haven't tried that yet. I don't think it would be very successful. A lot of times the birds will go out and they'll find worms that are out in other areas of the yard, and then they all will fight over who gets the worm, and one follows the other and they run around trying to prevent other birds from catching their worms. You can herd them, but they sometimes aren't very cooperative. Again, it definitely helps having a second person. When I do it by myself, it's not as successful and takes about twice the amount of time. You can see the dolly there. It's just I think we got it from Home Depot maybe. It's just a kind of standard dolly. On this side of the house is where we keep the hens. You'll see the squares where they have previously been, where they've eaten all the grass, and then where their excrement is. That green stuff where there's not any squares is where they've already been, and that's probably a month's worth of growth of grass. The brown squares will eventually get back to that once the manure works in and everything starts sprouting again. So they eat a ton of grass every day and enjoy it a lot. These are kind of the final holdout chickens, and they've probably been out every single day that we've moved them. Every day that we move them, they know how it works and know that they get caught, but if they run fast enough, then they can try to escape. The first day we did this, I think we had half of the chicks out, and thankfully they didn't really understand what was going on, and so we could catch them quite easily, but it was rather difficult. And here you see Ruger would like to say hello to the chickens, but thankfully he can't get to them, so. When it rains, we put out a couple of different things. This area kind of is being saturated with a lot of water right now. The kiddie pool that you saw, we've put hay in it before and stuck it in the pen with the chicks so they can get off the wet ground and just get dry. As long as they can get dry and stay warm, then they can do pretty well through rain. The pallet also serves to put in to the pen so they can get up off the ground. Anything basically to get them off the ground and keep them dry and then get them warm again. There's been a couple of nights that I go out when it's pouring rain just to make sure all the chicks are up on something so that we can prevent any kind of disease and also any kind of death just from the cold and the rain. Those are not good things for chicks. Also, if you take hay, which is right there, and put it down on the ground just to where there's kind of a barrier. The chicks will get up on the hay and try and kind of dry off before they get too wet. So you can just leave the hay on the ground. I've done it with the hens before, and it eventually just works back into the ground and biodegrades and feeds the ground. This would be our final holdout, and this one chicken's pretty smart as to how everything works. These plywood boards are actually quite rounded just due to water. You'll see right here, there's plenty of room for the chicken, and worked really well to capture the chicken to take it back. Those are the squares that the chicks have been on previously. They've eaten through all that grass, and then that'll eventually grow back in. So this is a morning routine daily. Every day they get moved, and every day we get to capture chickens and put them back in the pen.